Are money conversations with your spouse stressful? If so, they could be costing you more than just dollars, but put a strain on your relationship. But what if I told you you can move from financial tension in your conversations to financial teamwork? Today, we're going to break down a framework to help you reduce stress and increase money harmony in your relationship. Let's chop. Why are money conversations amongst couples so hard? They seem tough, right? 34% of folks say that money is a significant conflict area in their marriage. Yet 87% of folks say they're relatively on the same page, even with this stress. And you know what? There's even some lying going on because 37% of folks say there's some financial infidelity going on. Hi, I'm Dr. Preston Cherry, founder and CEO of Concurrent Wealth Management, where we help you align your life and money so you can build and use your wealth your way. And if you like what you hear, feel, and see on this podcast, please hit that like and subscribe button and share with your family, friends, and colleagues. Okay, let's chop. When we talk about money conversations, I hear this all the time with my clients at Concurrent Wealth and just amongst friends and colleagues and fireside chats, whatever it may be, right? Is that money is a tough talk around when you're dealing with couples. And there's not a time that goes by to where if a conversation has not been had or several or reoccurring, then money talks are tough and they cause tension within relationships because folks just want to avoid them altogether. So today we're going to talk about why conversations are so tough sometimes, a framework that can help, and then also say, you know what? Conversations don't have to be full of conflict. We can have some harmony in here. And how do we avoid that, right? So why are money conversations so tough? Well, bottom line is that money is emotional. Who knew, right? But that emotions are compounded when you're dealing with two people who love each other. So money is deeply personal and personal on the individual level. So when you combine two individuals with personal money aspects as an individual and combine them as a couple, and then you add deep love and feelings, then money has now been a compounded emotional issue, which sometimes makes money talks a little tough. But however, you can transform that same love that you have for one another and magnify or amplify, right, your conversations around money to bring more harmony and shift away from being so tough. And how do we do that? Well, one of the ways is to identify triggering conversations or experiences or value systems around money. And we'll talk more about how to do that in the second segment. But the triggering is what really keeps people from having productive conversations. Something may set someone off or feel misunderstood, or the goals are not aligned. Whatever the triggering mechanism is, if they are there and they're consistent and they're strong, then it cuts short the conversation that you have to have around money. Also, too, folks grew up differently. So when you talk about experiences with money and what your earliest money memories are from each perspective, then those could be different and be contributing to the thought processes and the actions of individual money and money and money dealt with at the household level. And remember, when you are married, you're acting as a team, right? So you have two individuals, sure, but they're coming together on one team. And we'll talk about that term coming together here in a little bit, right? So one of the things you could do by identifying some of these triggers and finding out what these experiences with money are, and just simply, where are you in your money journey as a team, right? Is to set up some regular check-ins. I mean, even just talk with updates every day, not every day, but maybe weekly or even just in your general conversations. I remember my wife and I, we always have these conversations just randomly sometimes. Hey, did you pay that hospital bill? Or we're going on a trip. Well, what airline are we going to use in order to go, or how are we going to handle that? Right. And why? Did you happen to contribute to that account? Did you set up that automation? And so all of these conversations are daily interactions about money. They're just like, hey, what are we going to have for dinner? Right. And so when there is perhaps a disagreement or something that needs to be unpacked a little more, then you bring it up randomly, like what TV show that we're going to binge watch, right? Same thing with a conversation with those examples that I gave you. That is the time to pause and have a conversation and not avoid them, and be courageous about not wanting to avoid a trigger. All right. How do you do that? I'm going to give you a framework in order to do that. I call this Dr. Cherry's financial harmony framework. And financial harmony goes two ways. It can go with couples, right? So you're talking about one spouse to another spouse, or financial harmony when you're aligning your life and money in order to have harmony to achieve your life's design. So financial harmony A and B, which is financial harmony within couples, and then financial harmony within your life and money so you can achieve what you need to. Okay. Now, what is this magical framework, right? Well, it's a 5-step process, and hopefully this can help you move from tension to teamwork. First of all, this this notion that everyone has to compromise all the time seems like it contributes to someone having to give up something all the time, right? Or and if you feel like you're giving up something, then that's another reason to avoid a conversation. So here's a framework to where you don't necessarily have to compromise, but you can come together. Coming together allows for teamwork to be established right off the top, and someone not always having to quote unquote lose. Who wants to lose, right? You want to win. So you win as an individual, and you win for your relationship and the household direction on finances. Come together. Now, I think it was a Beatles song, and I think Michael Jackson redid the Beatles song, "Come Together Right Now, dun, 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 Over Me." Yeah, put in the chat whether you enjoy those two jams and who do you think did it better, right? All right, step one, agree to meet. Having frequent and regularly scheduled meetings that set you up for success. Yes, I said, those everyday conversations, well, those just come just in the flow of conversation, right? But if you're sitting down with a focus and you know that a conversation has come up, then that's one way or one factor to help avoid all the triggering mechanisms or even the tension, because you know it's coming. You agreed to meet. You put it on the calendar, right? If it ain't on the calendar, it didn't happen, right? So agree to meet and agree to meet in an environment that surrounds you and sets you up for success at a time and environment where when you're rested, you don't want to be in a tight type of attitude. You want to be relaxed, right? And be feng shuied in your atmosphere and in your spirit. Agree to meet. Now, the second part is to agree to agree. And what does this mean? Well, just because we are talking about money and we're a team, well, do we have to agree on everything? No, that's not true. We don't have to agree on everything. That said, we do have to agree where we're going. And what does that mean? That means if you all want to retire at, say, 55, 50, 45, whatever that time is, then say that our goal is to retire. Let's just use 55, for example, is to retire at 55 so we can transition into the next stage of our life. We both want to do that. How do we get there? You may have different perspectives on how to get there, but you agree to say, we want to get to our next stage. We want to enjoy each other, right? We want to enjoy that next golden year stage and have our life stage vitality, enjoy the money that we've built up, and really just start, right? Start our lives in that next transition phase. So when you're agreeing to agree, you're agreeing at the household or the couple's level, right? It could be retirement. It could be where you want to travel, right? Hey, you want to take a couple of trips every year. So say that we need these 2 trips in order to help us refresh and revitalize. We like to travel. So this is something we want to do. We need it. We want it. All right. And we want to enjoy ourselves during these trips and not have to think about our spending plan or retirement, savings rate, whatever that may be. So we want to have these trips. How you all think about those trips or where to go and how to carry that out or how much money to spend, that may be something that be different. But you're going to talk through that in order to come together, right, on a harmonious tip. So agree to agree on a common goal that you want to accomplish. Number 3, understand each other's perspective. Allow a compassionate space and warm space for both spouses to present their case and be heard, and both of you have the willingness to be understood. All right. And when someone expresses a willingness to intentionally listen and want to understand someone, then someone feels valued after that. So you agree to understand each other's perspectives without jumping all over each other's case, right? A triggering mechanism. Then you have a welcoming and belonging environment to say, let's each other be heard. And if or when the conversation may get a little heated a little bit, or there's a disagreement there, then you allow yourselves to say, hey, listen, let's take a pause for a few minutes and then come back, right? So having an environment to be understood, be valued, be heard is very essential to this conversation because you get to hear what both stories are. There's a lot of stories to be shared behind the thought processes. Not everything is irrational. Most things are logical once you hear the story behind it. So, for example, how people took vacations when they were coming up as teenagers or young adults, right? That may be different in each of your perspectives. And that may influence the money that's going to be spent or not going to be spent, the experiences to be had on that trip. 2 different experiences and perspectives are going to be heard. Now, you can combine these perspectives in order to come together and say, let's do this on this trip, let's do that on that trip. Or when you're talking about retirement, let's retire at this age, let's retire at that age. And what are we going to be doing as we transition into these, go-go years, so to speak, right? How are we going to save every year for our retirement and also live our lifestyle? What are the perspectives of living for the now and living for the later, right? Hear each of those perspectives because there's some sort of logical story to influence the individual's thought process, and you come together in order to agree to your agree moment. And then when you've heard that, then you need to affirm that you heard it because hearing and listening are 2 different things. Have anybody seen the movie White Man Can't Jump when they had Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes? They said, are you hearing Jimmy or are you listening to Jimmy, right? Did you hear or did you listen? So you could hear something all day long. Like right now in the background, I could hear my baby talking down there, right? My 10-month-old. But am I listening to what he's saying? Although he's probably talking gibberish, but I can talk to him. I can listen to him intently. I can listen to my wife intently. I can hear her downstairs right now. But am I listening to what she's saying if she decides to call me and ask for something? So listening with intent and then affirming what you heard by, okay, I can understand where that comes from, right? I understand it a little bit more. So are you saying such and such and such and such? And that's how you affirm someone being heard. Now you need to take some action. This is the 5th step. Take some action to your step 2, which is your agree to agree. You've had additional input that informs what you want to do next. and for some enjoyment and understanding and value, right? You have information that's going to inform what your agreed upon goal is, right? So you have compassion, you have understanding, you have facts, you have figures. Everyone has been heard, right? And now you can say, now let's have some fun and take action on maybe that spending plan, retirement, traveling plans, funding adult children, talking about parents or where you should live close to one parent or another, those elderly parents I'm talking about, right? So there's so much, so many topics, so many money topics. Whether you're going to have a fun account for each individual or do you combine money for cash flow needs? It is endless about the topics that you can discuss. And if you have more information, then you can now use that information to inform the decision in a more harmonious way. All right. So financial alignment is really key. And that's that part two or that number two in the steps. All right. Now, moving on to navigating conflict without fighting. Money doesn't always have to be a battle, right? It can be about hugs and get all of that, right? It doesn't always have to be about financial trauma or conflict all the time. Once you have conversations on the regular and you identify financial alignment with where you want to go, where you are and where you want to go, right? Talking about money gets a lot easier. I talk to clients a lot at Concurrent Wealth Management, and I can share with you the more the frequent the talks, the more the constructed framework in order to have dialogue, right? The more the courage expressed, the more understanding of one another and what the common goal is, then there is financial alignment and harmony within those conversations over time, right? I talk to a lot of folks that say, you know what? We've talked about this over and over. We've talked through this. Not talked about, well, talked about and talked through. So they've now arrived at a point to where, now they have the skill set in order to navigate conversations without fighting, right? And they come to understanding quicker. They get to the fun part of action very quicker because of the dialogue that they've had on a consistent nature. So to be one of those couples that avoid divorce, because currently about 43% of divorces are happening because of money conflict, then you want to not fight. You want to move from financial tension to financial teamwork. All right. That's what I got for you. If you like what you've seen, heard, and feel on this show, please like and subscribe. You don't want to miss anything that we bring it to you. And until next time, we'll talk soon. Cheers.